Welcome, everybody, to episode 3 of the Realer State of Mind podcast. Today is our 2023 wrap-up show. So we're going to wrap up 2023, all the topics that have kind of gone on this year in the real estate and mortgage business. I'm gonna talk about what I'm gonna be doing on this podcast, why I started this podcast, and then later on I'm gonna bring in our market guru. Gonzalez is going to come on later, and we're going to talk about some of the big topics of this year and how these topics of this year are going to affect next year. So yeah, I just want to first of all, I want to thank everybody for watching, listening, YouTubing, Spotifying, all that stuff. We're also on Apple now. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in and tuning into my journey and tuning into this podcast in general. Appreciate all your time. I wanted to also talk about where I'm going to be going with this podcast. This podcast is going to be designed, number one, for business entrepreneurs. Specifically, I'm in the real estate business, so that's kind of where my expertise lies. So I'm going to stick to the real estate business, and I do want to divert into other things, other entrepreneurial, endeavors and entrepreneurial businesses that I can learn from, and hopefully you guys can learn from as well. I'm trying to get this podcast up and going so you guys can actually, hopefully learn something from some of these guests, and maybe even a little bit from me. Who knows? And that's kind of the direction that we're gonna go with each guest that I do bring on. I've kind of named it out, or we're gonna be talking about life. And life as an acronym, and life in general. I'm going to be talking about, I wrote it down, it stands for lifestyle. I'm going to be talking about their lifestyle, how they live their lifestyle, and how, their business contributes to the lifestyle that they're living. I is going to be for influence. Who has influenced these people? Who has influenced you to become who you are, where you're going, and, and who you want to be. F is going to be for finance, how that person deals with finance, financing in real estate in general, how to finance your properties, and again, just investment opportunities and how that person is using their investment opportunities, and maybe you could learn how that guest is leveraging their finances to, gain some leverage in the business world and to expand their business and so on and so forth. E is for entertainment. I want to try to make this lighthearted, a little more fun, and try to add a little bit of entertainment news in there so we can, kind of have a little bit of fun with this podcast. What's a podcast without having a little bit of fun? And again, I named it the Realer State of Mind podcast because I want to get the real truth behind. I want to kind of unveil the curtains of the real estate market, kind of show you guys what goes on behind the scenes, show you what happens and what these people's lives are really about. Because there's too much like selling sunset, $1 million listing, all that good stuff out there, all that TV out there, and those guys, they make tons of money out there. All those real estate agents and people in the mortgage business, etc. But those people, they grinded hard to get to where they're getting, and I want to kind of unveil some of those stories. Nobody becomes rich overnight, and that's how like the real estate business in the media, or not the media, I should say in the entertainment world, pretty much on TV. That's what people see, but that's just not what it's about. Even for me, I grinded my ass off to get to where I'm at today. I spent a lot of years of literally not making any money, or making just barely above the poverty line, just to stay afloat, because I knew that this is kind of something that I wanted to see out. This is kind of something that I wanted to do for the long-term future. So again, guys, it's going to be the 2023 wrap-up show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and welcome to our journey, and hopefully in 2024, we'll catch you soon. I'm in the real estate and the real estate of mind. All right, everybody, thank you again. Thank you for joining us on episode number 3 of the Realer State of Mind podcast. Today's going to be our wrap-up show. So today we're going to talk about everything that's pretty much happened in 2023 in the real estate business. We're also going to talk about what to expect in 2024. If you're looking to buy a house in 2024, this would be a great show to tune into. We're going to give our predictions today. You guys might have seen them on some of my previous posts and previous YouTube videos and things like that. But Chris Gonzalez is with me. Chris Gonzalez is a longtime friend, longtime loan officer, longtime in the mortgage business for life. So yeah, anyway, he's been around the block, so to speak. Chris has worked almost every job in the mortgage business, and mortgages are this guy's passion. So he really, I mean, come on, man. He studies the market. He knows the market. He's the one that got me into really, digging deep on things in the market and things like that. So again, Chris, thank you. Thanks for coming on. I know your time is valuable. So yeah, again, thank you for taking the time to join us here. Guys, the big stories too. So 2023, the big story of 2023 was the rates, right? Yep. So interest rates, they spiked in October. A lot of loan officers, a lot of realtors left the business, probably even before October. But I guess let's start with the rates. What do you think the rates at 8%? Oh no, first of all, me and you had a bet.
We did. Yeah, we did.
We had a bet on the rates, and I have it in another. I forget what it was.
For the record, it's in the office.
It's in my other office, and I have. You were way high.
I was way high. Yeah.
You were way high. I know he's the market guru,
My guess.
You were way high on what it was. I think I was at 8.125. We hit, depending on what chart.
Depending on the credit score, depending on the scenario.
Or depending on what chart. Because mortgage, I always tell my clients to use Mortgage News Daily. Yeah. Mortgage News Daily has a, for those of you guys listening out there. Average, go to mortgagenewsdaily.com to check out interest rates. That's what I tell people to check out. And they give you various other websites on that website of where they're getting their information. So you guys should check that out. But what do you think has happened this year? Tell us a little bit about, did interest rates affect your buyers basically, or affect your market, or affect,
Every time the interest rates were going up, or if it went from one month, say September to October when we had the highs, right?
Yeah.
I felt like there was a pause from buyers. So some buyers were like, wait a minute, what's going on? And then they start again. So it created this stop, go movement, rather than just continuously looking and making offers. That's how it affected. I didn't have anybody who said, I'm out, I don't want to buy anymore. I didn't have anybody do that. I didn't have anybody who say I can't afford it anymore, I'm out. Luckily, I didn't have anybody like that, but it started scaring a lot of people, wondering how high they're going to go, obviously, Right. Some people are like, man, if I don't get in now, what am I going to be looking at if in 3-4 months by the time I find a house or whatever it is, Yeah. I'm going to be looking at 10% or so. It scared people in that sense, but I didn't have anybody cancel or want to stop looking. Everybody that I was working with still followed through, and they know that the payment that they have is not forever. It's very short term. But they got the house, and now they're not going to be dealing with multiple offers next year when it's not, it's not fun to be doing that kind of thing too, So, but the theme of this year has been, honestly, the market bent but did not break, honestly.
Yeah.
It bent a little bit. People started wondering how high. Some sellers are probably wondering, I got to sell fast before it gets crazy or whatever, before a market crash happens, and it bent, but it didn't break. And I think that's what we're going to be looking back at, because a lot of people last year were saying 2023 market crash, and I feel like every year you're always going to find that YouTube video, the next year's the market. Everybody wants to predict the future and nobody can, but everybody was saying 2023 because of where we were going with the rates. We were going to end up, because historically when rates remain high for so long, they do slow down the economy, and they cause a correction. Right? They want to correct the economy, and it didn't happen this year for many reasons. I mean, the economy was resilient. There was still consumer spending. I mean, if you want to go into the direction of how people were still spending, that's a different topic. Who knows if most of it was credit cards or people were barely hanging on. But the point is that we didn't have these massive foreclosures that everybody was trying to predict last year, and
Right.
I think it was resilient, and that's something we need to be proud of, that our economy and the housing market has been very resilient.
Well, dude, the market. Oh, we're in Southern California. The market stayed hot. The market kept going up.
Yeah.
Homes kept increasing in value. I mean, what do what accounts for that, basically? Like literally, we still had buyers. We still had multiple offers.
Yeah.
We were getting the seller credits. So, for those of you out there that are looking for
A
seller
lot of
credits,
this year, honestly, most of our offers had seller credits. The majority of them.
but the prices are up. I know you're
Yeah.
getting a seller credit, so a lot of people are inflating the price of the home to get the seller credit.
In a sense, but I mean, the thing that did shift this year, at least for my clients, I noticed is like a lot of co-borrowers, 2 people, 3 people on a loan, whether they're living together or not, like pitching in. I had a few that was one, like the husband was the one and the wife was like not on the loan, but I mean, that was honestly huge credits that we were getting last year. Without getting too like far off, we have a demographic issue, which is that, and a supply issue. We haven't built enough homes for the amount of people that are of the age now that want to buy. And historically, people that want to buy are individuals that are forming households, that are starting a family.
Right.
And you think back at yourself, and I think back of me and my family, my kids. I didn't care about owning a home until I had my first kid, and then it's just something in you starts kind of shifting and changing, and wanting to provide for as a father, as a provider. But that's the issue, and that was the reason why home prices didn't drop, because even with 7.8, what were you giving? 7.5, 7.2.
I gave some of the highest rates. I gave somebody it's not a traditional conventional loan.
Oh, right.
I was in the 10s on some.
It's a non-traditional one.
It was a non-traditional loan. Didn't have the proper tax returns, things like that. But I was in the 10s.
Yeah, I mean, that's the loan.
On a 30-year fixed, yeah.
Primary or
Oh, no, it's investment.
Investment property. So the people were still buying, but we just don't have enough supply, and I don't know when that will ever get fixed. Meaning having enough homes for the amount of people.
So there's still this
that
kind of demand. Oh yeah, because that's the market stayed hot.
Yeah.
You're just saying supply and demand based essentially.
Essentially, yeah. No one's saying that there's 10 offers on each house. That's not what I'm saying. But there are enough buyers right now to fill the amount of homes that are still on the market available. And that's when you have a correction, so people that know this, is that you have a correction when there's too many homes for sale and nobody is buying. And that's what happened in 2008. All the foreclosures flooded the market, all the short sales flooded the market, and nobody was able to even get a loan because nobody was lending, right? So that's what caused the correction. This time around, there were still people buying. Yes, there might have been one offer per house. Maybe one house was sitting on the market for 30, 39, 20. That's like the average days on market days. They might not have been selling the first weekend, but the point is that properties were still moving this year.
But they were pushing prices too this year. That's probably why they had to bring it down.
As
I
well.
do know a lot of properties that were just priced high.
Way too high, yeah.
That would have sold basically if they were priced
They
properly.
weren't priced properly, yeah.
So you think that's still going to be the main reason this year, and like you said, I think that's a trend that's going to continue into 2024
I
just
agree.
because what's really going to change. They are building homes, obviously out in spaces where they can build homes, but here they're all what's called they're infill developments.
Right.
So they're just small little communities. You're talking about, they destroyed an office building
Right,
to
and
make
they built
like 10 townhomes.
10
Across the
homes,
street from our office now, they're building a townhome community. Down the street on 4th, they're building townhomes.
That's a KB Homes, I think, isn't it?
No, it's a smaller builder.
It's a smaller builder,
It's
yeah.
not KB. I don't know who it is, but smaller builder. But anyway, what we're seeing here in our local community, we're in Orange County, so we don't have any land.
No.
Other than down south, maybe in some of the Irvine Hills and things like that.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, but that land is really hard to develop.
It's hard, and some of it's protected too, or they're like preserving
down
or whatever.
by near the Laguna Hills. But anyway, what I'm saying is we're talking about housing shortage, and I think it's going to continue. I think you're absolutely right.
I think that's the theme next year too. But I'm also what I'm getting is that if the rates keep coming down, we are going to get more buyers to come to the market. Now, what we hope is that more sellers decide to sell, because we also have the move up sellers, right? You have the people that are going to sell and then move up to a better house with more space, because typically, or if they want to downsize. But the point is that you have the sellers who are selling a property, and if that takes place next year, it also help a little bit with the supply, some of the a little more listings. And some of the people that were on the sidelines waiting, maybe the payment was too high for them. Anybody who dealt with that might revisit that next year, if the rates continue to come down.
Yeah, rates come down, supply goes up, right? Because you're saying more people are going to want to sell their homes.
They're not going to be in this lock-in as much.
The lock-in
effect.
Well, the lock-in effect definitely still stuck around this year, big time.
Yeah.
It was still a major issue. And I know I did a bunch of videos on that lock-in effect, and I didn't know how real it was when we were doing all those refis.
Yeah.
I knew something was going to crack.
Yeah.
Like something was going to crack, and we definitely felt it this year. We felt it last year.
22.
Beginning of last year.
It was the very beginning, yeah.
And a lot of realtors. I wish I had the stats to talk about, but I don't know how many realtors are not. It's you guys can probably Google it or whatever, but there's thousands of realtors that aren't renewing their licenses,
right, yeah.
along with loan officers. I do like the fact that this year kind of purged the loan officers that were just there for the money, that weren't really in this for the long run.
Yeah, they're not serious about it.
They were here for the quick buck and not the long run. Those guys, unfortunately, it happens. It happens with every refinance cycle.
Yeah.
This was probably the biggest one of my lifetime so far, and I've been doing this since the crash.
Yeah.
Actually, I started in 2008.
This is the longest refi window.
We had refis right after the crash, but nothing like this. I remember a lot of refis after the crash.
Yeah, those harps. Remember those harps? The Obama harps.
Yeah, I remember the Obama harps. But another thing is loan amount limits went up this year. So, Fannie Mae reported when they released the loan amount. I know I talked about this a little bit, but they released that nationwide home prices went up 5.5%. So again, that just kind of speaks to the same stuff that we were just talking about.
Right.
How homes are continuing to go up. 5.5% is a good year in real estate. People are
here's the thing. So people are wondering, why would prices not go down? If a seller has no urgency to reduce their price on their home, they didn't lose their job, they're not on the streets, they're not getting foreclosed on, that's not going to you need that essentially to bring prices down. You either need one of two things. You need major job loss, right? Major job loss. And we didn't have it this year. That's why we still had growth in 2023, because these people were locked in. And going back to what you were saying, the growth of the 5.5 average nationally came from some sellers just weren't budging on the price, or they weren't going to take a $60,000. Because I'm going to be honest, and I don't know if you talk to your agents or referral partners as much as I do in this, but I had people that were telling me they were making offers $50,000 under list to see if a seller would bite, and nobody was responding.
Just throwing out offers,
just throwing out numbers.
Catches.
Yeah, just throwing out offers, and nobody was responding. So that just goes to show that it's not gonna. We're pretty strong right now.
I already have strong offers. Why am I going to take your low ball? I mean, people. Yeah, like we already talked about, people are getting offers. Yeah. Anyway, 2023, man, tough year. Glad we made it.
Yeah.
We had, us here, we had a pretty good year. I just think that we have, obviously, the resiliency, the people, the products, the process. We had what it takes. We're also a lot of us are loan officers for a long time, or real estate agents that we work with. They've been realtors for a long time. It's like we just talked about, it's the new people fell out of the market. The people that weren't taking this job seriously. This isn't some
get rich quick scheme.
It's not
get rich overnight thing.
It's terrible for whoever thinks that.
No.
I don't know. So anyway, so 2023, man, I'm gonna remember it. Yeah, as a rough year. We hit record high in interest rates. I think it's a 25-year high.
25-year high, yeah.
25-year high in rates, and we made it through. And you talked about, we're gonna talk about this in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we will. 8% conventional loans they're tough. That's when's the last time? It was 90s?
Yeah. We got to 7% during 06, or before the crash, 07.
But this just hit over that.
Yeah, we went over that. So we're going back to the 90s, essentially. Yeah. But again, credit score, whatever. You understand it depends on the credit score. But yeah, we were giving out 7%.
I'm just talking about that average that everybody talks about. When your uncle at the barbecue asks you what rates are, that's the rate. That's the rate I'm talking about. Yeah. I'm not talking about
the barbecue.
We're not going LLPAs and figuring out what where they
adjustments
fit in the
on credit scores and stuff.
Yeah. We're talking in generalities here to the people here. So anyway, guys, that's 2023.
The other thing too, don't forget inflation came down significantly. inflation came down this year significantly.
Yeah.
We had inflation last year, up to 9% at one point. We touched it, we came back down immediately, but we had to come down from such a high to now 3.1%
inflation
on an annualized. Yeah, I mean the year's not over because we still have to report December's numbers next month, but right now as of this moment we're at 3.1. So if the inflation comes in lower next month for December, that means that we're going to be under 3%. I mean that's huge. That's huge.
Where were we before that? Before pandemic?
Before COVID?
Yeah.
We were floating around between 0.5% to like 1% inflation.
Right. So almost nothing.
We were never. Yeah. The government had a hard time bringing inflation into a system.
It wasn't really a topic. I've never heard of this inflation. I mean, I've heard of inflation, of course, but I've never heard about being a topic in the economic news, really.
That was the reason I told you that during the Obama years and into when Trump came in until 2018. That's why the rates were always the same. We were always giving out 4%, 3%, 3.8, 4.2. We were always around the same for 10, 12 years because inflation never bounced as much. And now that when COVID happened, that's when the interest rates started spiking up because of it. But we're down. I think that's also a big topic for this year. Looking back, inflation came down a lot, and it's something we could, and without a crash in the economy, right? Like normally that's how you bring inflation down by the economy going into a deep recession, and in this case it didn't. And
why do you think we didn't go? I mean, there's a lot of money floating around. There's a lot of free money that was maybe saved up from the COVID. After the government gave away billions of dollars.
It's job loss. We didn't have as much job loss this year as they anticipated.
Yeah, we still have jobs that are
still jobs. I mean, you're starting to hear a little bit about layoffs in the news, like Google this or Apple that, or
that was the beginning. Google, Apple, the big tech companies were the beginning.
You still hear them, and then now you're hearing some companies that are going to lay off into 24, but it hasn't snowballed like they thought it would, because that's ultimately what starts a recession too. Major job loss. Less income, people have to, sell or do things and sell their homes because they can't make their payments, right? But the other thing too we forgot is they also established this time they didn't have during the last crash in 2008, which was forbearance. Remember, forbearance came in.
Well, they had loan mods.
But now you can just call and you don't have to go through an attorney. You're not doing this whole
that was just
that's the process.
Problem is, that's another topic of people just taking advantage of the forbearance. Everybody.
Yeah, that's not right. But the point is that they had a quick little easy out to help somebody find a job if they got laid off or something.
But they made it that's just my opinion.
Too easy.
That's not even my opinion. That's just fact. They made it too easy. You can just call into your mortgage company and tell them that, I'm sick with COVID. Give me 9 months off. I'm going to be sick for a year with COVID.
Yeah.
They just, you're right. You're talking about the forbearance. That's way too easy.
That was too easy, yeah.
Too easy, so people got a break, and that's just money back in their pockets.
Correct.
That they can save off them. But they don't have to, so I guess.
For anybody that doesn't know, forbearance.
For you guys that don't know what forbearance is when you essentially you get a pause on your payments, and your mortgage company will pause your payments for a financial event that you're going through, or in this case it's a pandemic. But they'll either add the payments to the back of your loan, or they'll put HUD or FHA was putting second mortgages or second liens. They're not mortgages, second liens on your home for any payments that you've missed. So we were dealing with that when we were, when we were refinancing some people recently. So anyway, guys, 2023, the year of the highest rates we've ever seen in the mortgage business, and real estate stayed hot, especially in our area, Southern California, but throughout the nation. We got 5.5% increase according to Fannie Mae. So anyway, it was a great year in the real estate business. We purged LOs. We purged all the real estate agents that weren't really real estate agents, that were just kind of doing it for the money.
The ones that do it for part-time, The ones that don't
part-time, or they're just doing it just to do it, just to see if they can do it. Now we got the real people. We have professionals that have stayed in the business, and we got, the economy kind of keeping housing alive, basically. Housing stayed alive and housing stayed afloat this year. So 2024, man, 2024.
Man, it's huge. It's a big year, man. I mean,
it's going to be a big year. I guess since we can just talk about, we could start with interest rates. I know, so as you know, interest rates usually follow the 10-year bond. You want to start out with a prediction? Prediction on rates?
I think we're going to have some aggressive rate cuts from the Fed next year. I think about 150 basis points cuts. So for somebody who doesn't know that, you use percentages. So like we're at 5.25 to 5.5 right now. So next year we could be at 4.5 on the federal funds rate. So obviously most people know the federal funds rate is going to be tied to your car loans, to your home equity lines of credit, personal loans, I think, right? Credit cards. It doesn't apply to mortgages, but it has an indirect effect. I think we're going to be aggressively cutting because you've seen how much inflation has come down now. So if you just continue the forward-looking projections for inflation, we might even be at under 2%, which is the Fed's target.
Right.
Never in the history of the U.S. economy has the federal funds rate been this high when inflation has been way under. So what does that tell you? The rate has to come down to catch up with where inflation is. So if it's that far off right now, just imagine how much room they have to catch up. So I think they're going to cut a lot next year, honestly.
Yeah, so you're predicting, along with, I know the article that came out, it said, remember that article that came out?
Like
I think it was by
Yahoo
News, I believe. They said 6 times. You're saying at least 50 basis points is a big cut.
Yeah, they're going. No, I think March is already. The market's already pricing in March, the soonest one, because I send you the screenshots. March is the soonest one that they're going to cut. The market's already pricing that in, which you're kind of seeing the bond market coming down a little bit because they always have to get ahead of it. March would be, I think, the first one. The next one, last time I saw was like June or May, and then maybe let it settle, maybe closer to the elections or right after the elections. My guess would be like the third one, because remember we do have the elections. That's another thing too. 2024.
Big 2024 year.
2024 years, another election year, and you know how
red
crazy.
Red or blue, man, red or blue.
No, you know how crazy it gets. We're going to be getting these marches and craziness. Hopefully not, but that's another geopolitical. But also, I think the rates are going to come down faster and harder than most people think if inflation continues to come down, which it will. There's no reinflationary activity happening right now. There's nothing in the news right now that's reigniting inflation so far. And it's not going to, because we've held them so high, and it's just going to be a matter of how soon and how fast the rates are going to come down.
Well, they're already at a 6-month low. So, yeah, rates. Okay, if you guys listening to this today, we're pretty much at the last day of December here.
Yeah.
Depending on when you watch this, you probably watched this the beginning of January. We are at 6-month lows today. Mm-hmm. And again, Chris, what's the prediction? Okay, so CNBC is saying, I just saw it, CNBC is saying in the 5s, 5.5%.
5.5.
That seems, that's technically 3.5. That's 3 or 2.5. Yeah, 2.5% off of the high of 8%. I think that's big.
That's huge. Yeah, on conventional, I think 5.5 to 5.25. Like really good credit score, I think will ultimately be
by the end of the year.
End of the year, yeah, I do.
That's where everybody's buying. Nobody's really complaining too much. I mean, obviously you still shop and all that kind of stuff, but nobody's going to complain about I got a 5.1%, whatever.
Yeah,
I mean that's a standard interest rate.
They've already shown that
you could swallow that. Basically.
When we get to that level, it also ignites sellers who own a property want to move out to another house.
I would think about selling.
Yeah.
If you have a 2.7 to a 3.25 or something,
Yeah.
But I could sell. My house is now worth hundreds of thousands of dollars
How much
more,
appreciation
and I can take that money and put it into something else.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. That might spark my interest if I was a seller.
Yeah, it at least starts the conversation. Like, honey,
it's not bad. It's not, and then but we can definitely upgrade.
We're gonna get a nicer
or the 1031
house.
Exchanges for investors out there. That will. I could see that definitely.
That'll help.
I could see that definitely igniting the market for 2024.
Yeah, nobody's saying 7 offers next year per house, but
in some areas always, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think what's going to go away next year is the amount of seller credits we've been getting this year. I think those are going to get tougher to come by. Right now we're able to negotiate.
Because you're getting better offers.
Exactly. They're going to get 4 offers, and you're the one asking for 25,000 seller credits, and nobody else. Obviously, they're not going to take your offer. They're just going to move on. So that's what I think is going to start going away slowly as we get further in the year. Less seller credits. They're going to be harder to come by is what I'm saying. Not impossible, just harder to come by.
Okay, yeah, not to change the subject too much here, but yeah, back to home buyers. Home buyers for 2024. Just want to briefly touch on the biggest issues that are facing home buyers today. that were facing them in 2023. I do believe a lot of the same issues that we were facing in 2023.
Same.
We got rising home prices, low inventory. I have tightening mortgage lending standards and just more competition. So we could just briefly touch on, again, the home prices.
Yeah.
With the interest rates coming down, everybody kind of knows, but where do you see home prices going? With interest rates coming down in 2024, again, this is for you first-time home buyers. That's why I tell you guys to get in. Chris, what do you think is going to happen to the prices in 2024?
I think they're going to stay resilient. I think what's going to happen is this year you saw the market bend but not break with how high we got with the rates. I think next year the prices are going to stay the same or increase. Obviously, percentage, we can throw out a number. No one's going to be able to.
No, I'm not going to just make
it's kind of tough to make up a number, but I think it's going to stay resilient as well because that means spring season's going to be good, better monthly payments. You're going to get the move-up buyers. You're going to get the people that are first-time home buyers who have a better payment now. I think prices are going to stay resilient next year. I'm not saying they're not talking 8%, 9% appreciation in a year, but I'm talking resilient as in
they're not going to come down.
They're not coming down.
Yeah.
If the rates come down, more people are qualified. As long as we don't have a major job loss all of a sudden, and the reason for the rates coming down was because we're in this recession. As long as not too many people don't lose their jobs because of the rates being high, because most people don't know that there's a lag effect in the economy. Like whatever happens in the economy is not happening immediately. It's happening because of something we did 6 months ago, 5 months, 6 months ago, 7 months ago. That would be the thing I think would keep prices pretty strong. And you're going to have more offers. I mean, I have clients that call me. They're like, hey, where are the rates? What do I qualify for now? Okay, let me check back. Like I have that all the time. Let me check back in 4 months. Because the thing is that this, the rates affect your qualification and what you qualify for. And if you really want a house in a specific neighborhood, and the rates aren't low enough to help you buy that house, you're probably going to wait and see where they go, And those people are going to come out. So I think the values will stay strong next year, really resilient.
And we talked a little bit about it, but more competition in
more
2024.
Buyers. Yeah, more buyers. Well, who knows how
but
many.
It could balance itself out because you were talking about more sellers.
Yeah, more sellers.
More buyers, more sellers. It's just a wash.
Could be healthier.
Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, no, it will be healthier for that reason. More sellers, less lock-in effect if we get to the fives. And it's funny because somebody watching or listening to this might think, oh, well, why don't I wait till the fives? Well, I wouldn't recommend anybody waiting to compete.
Well, you also just lost 5% on your home price, buddy.
Now you just lost. Now you're also
That's
competing.
$30,000.
You're competing, and it's like all these factors that aren't conducive to timing the market because nobody can time it. So if you can get in, if you can afford it, obviously responsibly, right? If you can afford it now and you find something that you like, just know that in the near future you'll be able to refinance, but you won't be out there battling with people,
Mortgage lending standards, I think they tightened up this year a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, that there's the DU tightened up. DU is the program that it's an automated underwriting system that's it's ran by a computer. Your credit report and your whole application profile gets ran through a system. And that system is a software that gets updated. And anyway, that specific system itself, which is run by 90% of whatever it is, 70. Actually, I think it's 75 to 80% of mortgages get run through that. And those standards are getting tightened up. Do you see anything loosening up? Do you see any programs coming out next year?
Well, we have the Dream. For anybody who doesn't know, the Dream is the 20% down program that they announced. Released in March, right? It was March or something, or April?
Yeah, this year it's going to be a little bit different.
I think the 24 one's going to be a little different.
But the Dream is a down payment. It's a state of California down payment assistance program with, I believe, $250 million to $300 million this time.
In the budget,
I think it's
right?
250, in the budget. So they're going to be giving away. Yeah,
20%.
They're going to be giving you as the buyer 20% to purchase your new home out of that $250 million that they've allocated. But the difference is this year you don't have to scramble, and you and your buyers don't have to scramble to try to get your application, your loan locked. You're going to win a lottery. You're going to apply up to a deadline.
Right.
After that deadline, if you win the lottery, you have the golden ticket, and
right.
you can buy at your convenience.
Take your time,
basically.
yeah.
You can buy and you can kind of find the right house. I'm sure there will be a deadline, but it might be super extended, 6, 8, 9 months, something to give you enough time to actually find a home. Yeah, that program is going to be coming back next year, but that program, that's like so small, and that program is like Black Friday, and it's like Walmart, everybody jumping the door
Rushing
on Black Friday.
Yeah.
That's not a real program. I mean, I should say real program. That's not a real opportunity for most people.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very like minute, individual, very small percentage of people who's going to get that.
We're waiting on FHA limits too. They haven't announced them. FHA loan limits.
That's actually weird. We're literally
the last week of the year, and we still haven't gotten any announcement.
We're about to start. Actually, we should check on that because that's probably already.
I checked last night, but I'll check again this morning. I didn't see the announcement yet.
Wow, no, that should have already came out.
Yeah, it's already. Tomorrow's the last day of the year, the last business day of the year.
Wow, yeah, that should have already came out. So, kind of circling back, 2024 market predictions. We're thinking still low inventory. We're thinking rates get lower. More buyers get out there, but more sellers get out there.
Yeah.
And things kind of normalize.
Normalize. I think normalize is the right word, yeah.
Yeah, things kind of, I wouldn't say 100% normal, because I think pre-pandemic, we still had more homes for sale than we do now. But I don't think we get back to that. And that's my norm. 2019 is my normal, and I don't think we get back to 2019.
We hit a low. Behind. We hit a low this year for
listings.
We hit a low, like historical low.
Yeah.
So what that means is obviously sellers are rate sensitive because they also have to move somewhere. Most of them, they're not like going to live on the streets, right? So they're still rate sensitive, and the sellers when we got to 7.5%, 8%, they were like, okay, I'm just gonna wait because they don't have an urgency.
Yeah,
so that goes.
You're talking but you're still talking $400 or $500 on a payment when you're talking about that 2% in rate. The difference from 6 to 8 is a big, especially like a $600,000.
Yeah,
that's a big jump. That's a new car.
That's a car payment, exactly. Yeah. That's a car payment. So that's what happened this year, and I think if rates come down next year, that'll help the listings normalize and buyers normalize. We're not talking COVID crazy, but obviously more normal. Pre-COVID. Because there was, people forget that there was a history before COVID. This isn't COVID wasn't normal.
Yeah,
but it'll be more normal. I think more 19, more 17, because 18 was tough. But I think rates are going to be coming down, and that's good. It's healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I asked my last guest this question, and I want to ask you because it's a big problem in the housing market, and that's affordability. And nobody really has a good answer for this, and that's why all these politicians are struggling with it. Affordability in the LA and Orange County markets, especially, we're a high cost area, but there's a ton of jobs here. That's why people are here. There's a ton of decent paying jobs. There's obviously, few and far between well paying or high paying jobs. You got to work your way up to get to those and whatnot. But there's a lot of good, decent paying jobs, a lot of opportunity out here, and a lot of these people want to buy, and I hate that we've really become a renter's state or a renter's nation, renter's county, whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to say if you were a politician, but if you were somebody in charge, if you had some say, if you had this brilliant idea, do you have one? A brilliant idea, and I mean in regards to affordable housing, maybe a loan program. Housing projects are tough because I just saw an article where they're building housing projects in LA, and they're taking years through government, the bureaucracy of the government trying to get their paperwork and permits and approvals to build all this stuff. There's one guy's been doing it, I think, since 2013 or something, 2012. I got to find the article and I'll post it. But they're taking forever to build affordable housing. But those are rental units. We want to see people own homes because, home ownership brings, it brings a different type of community to your neighborhood when they actually
pride of ownership. Yeah.
Pride of ownership. It just brings that camaraderie, that neighborhood feel, whatever you want to call it. You probably know what I'm talking about. Do you have any idea what we can do or what we could even put out there on social media? Tell our politicians, maybe gather up a group of our association members, part of our AIM association, to bring it out there, because we need an idea here to help people afford homes, because the average home is, I hate to say it out there for you guys that are not in this area, but in Orange County for an average home, you're talking $850,000, and you're talking about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath,
Yeah.
1,600 square feet garage. And it's a nice home, but it's basically a starter home. It's nothing really. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing fancy. It's just kind of an 850. You put 5% down, so you're putting down 45, maybe around 45,000 plus closing costs. That guy's making, just off the top of my head, maybe 175,000 a year.
Income a year, yeah.
Yeah, maybe 150, but probably closer to 175 with your car, with your kids' expenses. Don't forget kids' preschools and you know, if they're doing all that, that's at least $1,100 a month. Anyway, I know I'm ranting here a little bit, but do you have any idea what we can tell our government spokespeople out there to help them, give them a clue, man? Let's give them a clue on what they can do to help people get into homes, because not everybody makes 175,000.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's the average. Well, I know we're in a different area, but the average income in the U.S. I believe is 55,000, maybe 60, and the average home is now it's a little over 400,000 in the United States. But yeah, do you have any? Because I literally this question baffles people, and they literally don't know.
It's the toughest one because no one has a real true answer.
Right.
And it's kind of, I think it's going to be the biggest, I don't say issue, but it's going to be one of the biggest things we have to face or tackle, because we've never been in this situation before with home prices so high. You know, somebody threw out the idea of having startups that allow you to do like a true rent to own, not like the scam rent to owns, but like a real rent to own, where there's some sort of shared equity or some sort of like, you know, yeah. Somebody threw that out, and it's being they've talked about it. I know you had that. Was a senator or congressman who was saying that they want to force the hedge funds to sell any rentals that they have, which is they've done studies on it. It's a small percentage.
It is. Even though it's like 1% or less.
Even though it's all the Chinese. No, it's not the overseas investors. No, the reason is we just don't have enough supply for the amount of people that want to buy, and the prices stay up and keep going up. But rent to own, I think, would be interesting if somebody can figure out a way to structure it properly so that it works for everybody. Mm-hmm. Remember that company I did, Adams, that refinance that I had, that she had that shared equity with that company that had like given her.
Yeah.
Remember? And they
forget the name.
They take a part of it. They take a part of like her equity. So maybe something like that where somebody and you have.
I'm not sure if they went bankrupt, but there's another client that I talked to yesterday that showed me a website. I'm not going to mention the company's name because I don't know enough about it. Actually, we're going to be on a call with them tomorrow, but it's the same thing. They're giving you a HELOC, but you don't make payments. It's kind of the same idea. It's like a silent, yeah. But they're taking a percentage of the home. And from what I read on the website, they're taking, if they give you a 10% loan on your house, when you sell, they want 20%. They want 20. Whatever they give you, they want 2 times that amount.
They want to double it, yeah.
Or they want to double their amount. Or again, I don't know the details, so I don't want to talk too much about it. But it just reminded me of that idea that you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, for that to make sense, though, that person would probably have to stay in that home for a while, for a little bit.
But it's a HELOC.
Yeah, but I mean, it still has to get paid off.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's essentially with no payment, right? Mm-hmm. That could work. The numbers seem a little like out there, but yeah, that something like that.
It is. It seems a little high.
That's kind of high, but
she's okay with it. She's a person who likes to leverage. Yeah, because she's basically, she needs it to, she's starting up a new business, and it's like the only way her house has a lot of equity. Mm-hmm. It's the only way she kind of has access to that equity. Yeah, that's, you brought up that shared equity idea. Yeah. But what do these investors do? They hang on because you don't need to pay for 30 years. So, and a lot of these people, they're sticking to their home. They're like literally, these people are dying in their homes essentially. They're taking their homes out to the 30-year term. I mean, are investors holding this money for 30 years and not getting, because you don't make any money until it sells. I do know that some people are obviously going to sell or refinance or whatnot.
People move too, yeah.
But the people that don't, you just hold that paper for that long?
I think the percentage is lower of those who don't than the ones who do, who either end up moving, maybe the kids grow up and
you think the percentage is bigger that you do get rid of that loan?
You do get rid of it than it is that they keep it for a long time. So I think it's the percentage of people that don't ever sell or keep it for 30 years is smaller than it is the ones that move around. Because you and I both know, think about how much life has changed in the last 7 years for you. You've moved. You've moved multiple times. So most people move, and They say the average is 7 years, 7 to 10 years. You're going to move at least minimum once, and those who don't are the exception to the rule. So I think they bank on that, and they assume, okay, if they sell in 5, 6, 7 years, simple appreciation, multiply it by those years.
You can keep the 5 or 7. Yeah. You can keep it. Yeah. I'm not going to keep for 30.
No. 5, 7 years, you move out. You got your money's worth. You got the write-off because you benefit from the write-off. You get the fact that it's your property, and if it's not in an HOA, you can do as you please. You get those kinds of benefits, pride in ownership. But obviously, at the end of the day, when you sell, it's going to be something that you're going to have to eventually come to terms with. Right. The whatever the arrangement of the agreement is that you have on paper. But yeah, 20% seems like a lot. If that's the real number, that's kind of high. That's kind of 20% if they take 20% on the shared equity.
No, they take 2 times what that you borrowed.
So if you borrowed 10, they take 20.
They want 20 back.
20, yeah. Got it. Well, I mean,
20% of the new value.
But that's what I'm saying. It just seems like that's kind of high.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Yeah.
If they could find a way to lower that and make it more feasible for people to not lose out because at the end of the day, when you sell, you're going to want to, you would like to make a little bit.
So that's the interest. That multiplier of 2, that is your interest payment, basically.
On that silent second or whatever they call it. Silent HELOC.
That's how they're going to make their money. I don't know what they're charging in terms of origination costs to actually give you the money. I don't know if they should actually be charging some type of processing fees for that. There's no way they're going to do that whole transaction for free.
Right.
So I'm sure there's some cost. And again, I'm going to go over it tomorrow with that particular investor. We do not offer that product. I'm actually helping a client on a conference call because she said, would you mind being on this call? You're in the business and I don't know the questions to ask and I don't want to get, scammed or taken advantage of or whatever. But she's like, I like it. And I was like, you know what, from what you've told me, it sounds okay. And if you're okay with these numbers in terms of the equity appreciation that you're going to be giving them, if you're okay with that, then I don't know. I don't see any issues with it. But yeah, again, I'm going to talk more in detail tomorrow about that.
I think shared equity could be a good solution if it makes sense for everybody.
Okay, yeah. So shared equity, that's Chris. That's Chris right here. Chris's brilliant idea, shared equity. And I don't think it's a bad, at least you came up with an idea because a lot of people can't come up with an idea in regards to affordability.
But true rent to own, not like we were saying they're scams. But
that's not even rent to own.
Technically
it's not even rent to own. If you want to get into rent to own, I would love a good rent to own where you lock in a price. And then 10 to 20% of your rental payment. Let's just say my rent payment will be 10 to 20% higher than that house would rent for, and I lock in a price early, and then I get that extra 10 to 20% back if I want to buy it. If I don't want to buy it, let's just say I lose it, and that's what you lose for kind of gambling on this house.
Right.
And gambling on maybe you don't like the area, whatever. You just
change your mind or something.
You just paid rent for a year. 10 to 20% extra on a house for a year. But now I got to think, what is the investor going to get for that? Or what is the person who bought that house? What do they get back? I don't know. They get because if you're guaranteeing a price, that house is most likely going to appreciate. It's the price appreciation. They have to lock in a price early that's a little bit higher than they bought for, and then
for it to be worth it, yeah.
For it to be worth it for that investor, basically.
Yeah, other than telling the city or whoever's in charge of permits to soften or make it easier,
easier for permits
to build, for builders to like this builder here.
They're already softening the ADUs,
Yeah, that's gonna help.
Already rolled it out through all of California.
The ADUs will help a little bit.
I know he rolled out that rule, but I never applied for an ADU, so I've only heard complaints from people that I'm working with about the ADUs in terms of permitting and things like that. So I don't know how hard it is, but it seems like it's harder than Newsom's trying to make it out to be. Oh yeah, everybody gets an ADU. Yeah. I doubt it's that easy, buddy. It's not just like that. I really doubt it's that easy, especially if you're in the city of Los Angeles. I heard the city of LA is just
the worst.
It's a tough city to work with, basically. Anyway, we talked about the 2024 market. We talked about the 2023 market. And I mentioned this to you earlier. I found an article by CNBC out of the top 50 markets. I know I mentioned this to you. This is crazy because people are talking about market crash and all that kind of stuff. There were pockets in the U.S. this year, 2023, that did see dips at certain times, especially probably like April, May. There was dips. I know Phoenix had a big big dip. But Phoenix is back. Now we're at the end of the year. But there's one market, one of the top 50 markets in the United States that saw, obviously they saw a really big spike during COVID in terms of home appreciation or home values. But in 2023, they did take a dip. And I have
City or state?
This is a city.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho?
It's a city.
No?
There's a city, one city in the United States, a big city. This city's over 1 million people.
Tennessee? No.
Tennessee's it's popping in Tennessee.
Big, yeah.
It's popping. A lot of good multifamilies in Tennessee. Yeah. Tennessee's a good state. Out of the 50 largest real estate markets in America, only one saw prices go down. What city is that?
California or outside California?
It's outside of California, but you would know this city.
Las Vegas?
No, it's not Las Vegas.
No.
I'm going to only give you I'm not going to.
One more chance.
Don't worry, guys. We won't sit here for hours, but,
I would say.
Just give them a couple guesses here.
I said Texas, Dallas, Houston.
It's in Texas.
Texas. Oh, shit. That was close.
You're right there. You're going to get it now. It's in Texas. It's a big city in Texas. Fort Worth and Dallas are the same market.
That's the same market. So I would say not Houston, not Austin.
It's Austin.
Austin? Wow.
It's Austin. So if you guys live in Austin out there, you guys live in Austin, Texas, you guys are the only city in the whole United States that actually saw a dip in 2023. And I want to talk a little bit about the numbers. If you do live in Austin, Texas, in April of 2022, the average home was $555,000. In November of 2023, you're down to $425,000. You lost, what is that? You lost $130,000.
Yeah.
This is the average price of Austin, Texas, not your particular home. I want to just briefly run by why. I'll give my reasons, and then you can kind of piggyback off of that. Well, Austin, Texas was the number one place for U.S. migration according to Redfin. So a bunch of migrants, tech workers moved to a bunch of tech workers moved to Austin. I believe Tesla moved there. Tesla moved there. I don't know if Amazon moved there. I don't think they did, but Tesla's the big one that moved there, and just it's becoming the tech bubble outside of San Francisco. It's becoming the tech bubble of the United States, and Tesla in particular, Elon Musk is really not okay with this remote work. Mm-hmm. He's been blasting people who work remotely. And I think that he basically, not only I'm only mentioning him because he's the guy we know, but he made people essentially go back to work. And they couldn't because now they're not anywhere near their facility or they just don't want to. So they quit their job or they got laid off. There was a bunch of big tech layoffs. And maybe Austin felt it more. And that's just my opinion on why Austin, because you talked a lot about job loss, and job loss is the reason of price declines. Yeah. And again, I don't have the particular numbers in terms of job loss in that particular city, but we do know that Google, Apple, and Meta all laid off, you're talking about tens of thousands, combined tens of thousands of people.
For the whole year.
I was talking about it earlier in the year. Some of my videos earlier in the year were talking about those tech layoffs. But I know if you want to piggyback off of that, that's kind of my reasoning. But yeah, what do you think? It went from $555,000 in Austin. I mean, I'd be pissed. I know it's not real money,
right?
Because it is just equity. It's not like realized. It's not like you see your bank account going up and down. So you don't feel it as a home buyer. And if you're going to live in the house long term, the houses in 2019 they were still below $425. So you still have made money if you bought in 2019.
Right.
We're really talking about the people that if you bought in mid 22, and then it's funny because April 2022 is when rates started to come down as well. So those were the people buying at low rates, and then the rates started to spike, and as the rates spiked, November 23 was pretty much the highest rates we've seen, maybe October, around Halloween.
Late
basically.
October, yeah.
But November 23, now we're at 425. Anyway, do you have anything to say about, that decline in Austin, Texas?
Yeah, I think it's the layoffs also maybe priced wrong. I had a couple of clients in Texas earlier this year, and I did notice, and I don't know the actual days on market in Texas, in that area, but I did notice there was a lot of listings for just my one buyer that was looking. So that also, I think, affects it. There were so many homes for sale.
Supply.
It's a lot of supply in that area, especially Austin, because, it's hipster, it's young, it's, California transplants too, and whatever you want to call it. But I think also some people might have priced them incorrectly, gotten a little too greedy. The sellers through the agents, the realtors. I think that probably had a little bit to do with it. Coming back down to reality, not thinking that this is some like COVID 20 offers on one house kind of thing, you know. I think that had a little bit to do with it too. But the tech layoffs, obviously, you know, Tesla's huge there. They just released a Cybertruck recently. Like they're moving and they're doing well, but maybe some people couldn't go back to work, like you said. That the Elon employees that were like, I can't go back. I'm living in another city.
He's not down with the woke.
Yeah, he doesn't want to he doesn't want the work from home. I'm better at working from home, supposedly, but that's a whole different other subject. But I think that had something to do with it. But I did notice a lot of homes were for sale when my client was looking, and he was looking in August, which is summer, which is typical summertime. I was like, man, there's a lot of you look on them,
right?
And I was like, there's a lot of properties here for the one area. This just seems like a lot.
Got a lot of options.
A lot of options.
We're looking for our buyers just sporadically. You're right.
You look for them, yeah.
It's not that many. You're going to buy this house, or you're not. Like, this is the house. Or maybe this house and that
There's
house.
a couple options, but over there was like a lot.
Because every buyer has a certain category of home or certain do's and don'ts or whatnot. And like you said, the supply just isn't there here, and you're saying it is there.
There was a lot during that time. I don't have the numbers. I don't know the time on market that it took for a house to sell, but I was one thing I noticed that there's a lot of listings in that. And he was looking like right outside Austin because he's gonna work in Austin, and he wanted to commute like a quick little 20-minute drive.
Also get a cheaper home. Yeah.
Cheaper home too. Yeah, you're not right in the So we were looking, and I called his agent, and we're talking, and we're looking on the MLS. I'm like, there's so many houses here, and all within that same fours range, like 400s, high 400s,
which is the average price.
Which is the average price, and I just felt like it was a lot for here. I mean, you don't have. I mean, like you said, there's options, but it's not like you have 50 houses just waiting for you to make an offer on.
Yeah,
and there was a lot, so I think that had to do a little bit with it. But I'm curious about the layoffs having an effect too in Austin, and also the other thing too is. You got a little bit of hype from COVID. People move over here. Texas is better, And then everybody starts moving to Texas, or people move to Arizona. Maybe some people woke up and realized it wasn't for them too, As much as the grass could be greener on the other side, sometimes you realize it's not. And, maybe you jumped prematurely and you moved.
Right.
And that's another
thing. That
thing
could be it. Yeah, we had my last guest was talking about one of his clients that moved from... Yeah, he basically tried to do the pandemic move and try to move to Texas, and he's already back.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I have a couple people that I know, they're not friends, they're just clients that have already told me like, oh yeah, we're coming back. It didn't work out, or, so that's probably more common than we think,
Yeah. Well, anyway, people in Austin, Texas, I'm sorry. This is CNBC reporting.
We love Austin. Austin's cool.
Yeah, I would love to visit Austin. I've never been there, but yeah, Austin. I've heard good things about Austin. I'd love to visit. But yeah, sorry to you guys who own homes. This is CNBC. CNBC was reporting this, so you guys can just Google it. It's all public information. But anyway, that was pretty much our wrap up show. Thank you, Chris. Thanks for your time, and thank you everybody for tuning in. Hopefully, 2024 is a bright future ahead. As we talked about, interest rates are expected to go down. So for those of you looking at homes, I do expect we talked about, I do expect a lot of buyers that are going to be out there shopping with you. So when you're at your open house and you see a bunch of people, to your left and right, just expect that is expected. That is not unexpected, essentially. So, and again, thank you for tuning in, and we hope to bring you some great content in 2024, and we'll see you guys there. Thanks a lot.